Hello. I am super excited for this conversation to take place today. It is the morning. So, for those of you, give us grace in case we stumble a little bit because there's no HR talkie before coffee. But I am so excited to be having a conversation with Joyce Johnson Maples. Otherwise, I call her JJM, not JMJ, not any other. Like, drop the mic, Joyce Johnson Maples. Joyce, it is so wonderful to be talking with you. How is your HR day going?
My HR day, I'm going to be totally honest, is going slow. I woke up late, but I'm trying to get in gear. Everybody knows, most people know I am not a morning person. Yeah, it's going though. It's going to be a good day.
Well, it's always a great day whenever I get to talk with you, Joyce. So, on Convos for Connection, we always ask those that are joining us in this adventure two questions. So, the first question I want to pose to you, because I have known you for many years, you are actually part of my accountability circle. So, if I need to get in an HR throwdown, Joyce is going to show up with a trident and her HR compliance voice. But for those that don't know you, Joyce, can you tell us your HR story? So, what led you to become such a steward of people?
Wow. Okay. This dates back, I'm not going to say how many years, but quite a few years. I was actually originally an accounting major, and they had those big green graph pieces of paper, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. But what really sparked me to switch majors, I was working for a unionized organization, and I was a part of another union. And just going through living that life and seeing how one union just out and out would violate another union's contracts and how we were treated as employees, I then thought, you know what? I want to go into a field where I can rest assured that employees are taken care of, that we're not violating contracts, we're not violating their rights or even our own policies. And that just really stuck with me. It that was such a pivotal moment from going from accounting to having that experience and sitting through negotiations and being a part of that unionized world. And mind you, I grew up in a union family, so my whole family was diehard union. So especially my mom. And when I said I did not want to be a part of that type of world anymore and wanted to be able to make a difference to make sure employees felt like they were valued, and that's why I wanted to get into HR, that was the pivotal moment that sent me in that direction. And mind you, that organization ended up paying for my undergrad degree. So through tuition assistance. So that was a great thing for me. So came out of undergrad without any student loan debt.
And that is a double, triple bonus. A, you got to take what you applied to that educational journey to benefit that employer back. And you got to fall into what many of us have fell into, which is the profession of helping people. And you also learn through that journey as this is not how I want to have that relationship with union. And again, it doesn't have to be contentious. I think those of us that live in and worked in union environments, especially being from Metro Detroit, where there's heavy presence, it doesn't have to be contentious. And I think you get to, on the triple side, you've been on both sides, your ability to understand and help navigate the complexities of those challenges have really helped you in becoming a legendary HR leader. Of course, I'm a little biased, Joyce, huge fan, but I think that that is such a good part of your story that you continue to take, even if you're not working in unionized environments at the current time.
But why should the relationship between employee and employer, whether you're unionized or not, why does it have to be this contentious relationship? We can't do what we do as an employer, as an organization without those people. So why not have a very harmonious type relationship where you're working together to actually build up your organization plus that employee? Successful employees who are happy, that if you're for profit, that's going to make you more money. That's going to make you more profitable. If you're a nonprofit, and I think some people don't view nonprofits as businesses, but they are. You know, the revenue stream is different, but you still have to rely on your employees to be able to bring in those grants, those foundations, the different individual or corporate donors. It having that good relationship with your employees and how you're building each other up can only go towards your success.
Can we like memorialize that statement in like a statue in granite and put it at every employer and workplace everywhere? Like it only if everybody understood that, which is why we need more people like you to be allies and stewards of people in our profession. So, and I know that's part of your leadership style, and you've made an impact by helping organizations understand that, to make that connection. So, thank you. So, Joyce, if there was one moment that shaped your HR career or had the most impact or influence outside of the story you just shared us that nudged, and no offense to accountants, like doing T-charts on those green papers. That's how I learned when I took accounting. Again, basics, but it, not very sexy. Um, what was that moment? So that one moment that shaped your HR career has had the most impact or influence.
Wow. And there's been many, but I'm going to say the number one thing that I remember, I was early in my HR career. I was a HR coordinator or director or something at the time, many years ago. Um, and I was looking at some reorganization, and we were at the organization I was at, and it was a nonprofit, and we were looking to expand a department and add a position. And there was an employee that I had my eye on. And I was like, wow, I think she would be great for this new role. So I called her. And my office was on the second floor. Her workstation was on the first floor. I called her and I'm like, hey, can you come to my office? I want to talk to you. And within the 5 minutes from her going from downstairs, and the elevators were very slow, when she made it up to my office, she walked in the door and she was sobbing. I mean, she was crying uncontrollably. I thought, on the way up, did you get a phone call? Did somebody die? You know, what happened? Are you ill? And her statement to me just stopped me in my tracks. And she said, no, you called and wanted me to come to your office. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I wanted you to come to my office. She said, well, yeah, it's not often that HR calls you into their office for a one-on-one conversation. And I'm like, oh, I closed the door. And I don't have Kleenex in my office because I hate when people come in my office and start all that crying. I'm a little better now. I will allow it. So I left out, got her some Kleenex, came back, told her to collect herself. And I said, I explained the reason I wanted to see her. We're expanding a department. There's this role. I'm crafting the job description. I just automatically thought of you and thought that you would be great for this role because I've watched you. I've seen how you work. And she looked at me with this stunned look. And I said, but now I have to rethink that because just because I said I wanted to see you, you panicked and you're sobbing. I'm like, maybe you're not the right person for this role. And then I had to kind of check myself. And I said, no, it's the perception that people have of human resources and they're afraid of us, and they shouldn't be. I'm a servant leader, and I am here to serve each and every person. Yes, as the head of HR, you're there to protect the company, to set structure, set policies, procedures, work on development. But people were still in that day and age, and many years ago they called us the people police. That's how we were still viewed. I think some people still view us that way in 2025. And I at that moment, and like I said, that was early in my career, I decided I had to do something to change the perception and let people know when I call you, I'm not calling you because of disciplinary, not all the time, most of the time it's something good. I want to chat about something, started doing state interviews before state interviews were a thing. I don't want to know what you have to say about the organization when you're leaving. I want to know what's keeping you here or what will keep you here. So that one moment has completely shaped how I view HR, how I view my relationship with those working in the organization. I just that was a pivotal moment for me when I realized, I don't penalize her for feeling the way she did, but look at myself and look at those in the profession and say we have to change how we operate and how we're doing things so that people aren't afraid of us.
Nothing has changed. And we're both vintage. So we entered HR when it was called personnel. Um, but I am celebrating the fact that you recognized that earlier on in your career. And we are often carrying the legacy and baggage of others that HR is viewed with omnipotent power. We are. There is a perception because we have the ability to onboard and offboard that an interaction with HR is always negative. And maybe in that person's previous encounters, they did have a negative HR interaction. And I will say, I too had a similar situation. And I started when I would invite people to my office or put stuff on their calendar, I started telling them why. Like, for a good reason, want to have a good conversation. This is positive, or be honest and saying we got to have a conversation that is constructive. But they're still calling us the people police. We still have all of those acronyms, even others, with Gen, perennial, or whatever we're calling them. The language that's out there still has that negative connotation at times. And I think that's where, through our interactions, people can build a trust and credibility. So no matter the conversation we're having with them, that they can trust us in the end. And it doesn't matter if it's a positive conversation or if we have to redeploy them outside of the organization. And you are a leader that has always been of service. And you can, no matter that conversation, you portray and through your actions do that with compassion and empathy. So if you're at the grocery store 2 years later and you run into them in aisle 8, they will not run away from you. And sometimes when we open that door for them, it's a good door opening that we're not the right fit. So doing what we need to do in HR is so pivotal, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. That's funny that you say that because I was, being a downtown Detroiter, I went with my sister out to Grand Rapids for a basketball tournament my niece was playing in. And there we were in, I think, a Culver's or something to get something to eat. And a person walked in and they looked at me and they're like, Miss Maples. And they're like, remember you fired me. Do you want to hire me back? And I was like, no, who are you? First. Two, oh, yes, I do remember you. Sorry, no, I don't want to hire you back. And I've had so many people say, you know what, you fired me, but I've got to say you were fair. And that's what I want people to view me as. I'm a fair person. I'm not trying to railroad anybody. I'm not out to get anybody. I'm not trying to build up a paper trail. I'm not trying to do any of that. I want to see you develop and grow in a way that benefits that person as well as the organization. And when you have those coupled together, it's just success all around. And if I need to, maybe it's a positive thing of me recommending, hey, you know what, from our conversations, here's a role for you. It's not in this organization, but I know that's what you really want to do. And it's okay to do that. People are like, you're really sending your employees elsewhere. If it's the best thing for them, yes. Yeah.
And not everybody will take that perception. But that is what being a good steward of people does. Um, and let's celebrate that. And let's continue to celebrate that. So one last question that we do is this is your opportunity to give somebody in our HR community a shout out. So if there's somebody that you're a huge fan of that you think all of us should know that you want to give a shout out to, who is that person going to be?
Oh, wow. There are so many. Um, I'm honestly going to say, and you know this person well. Um, I watch her. I've watched her for a while now. We've known each other for quite a number of years through NAAA HR, through HRUnite, our coffee talkies. And she's just phenomenal. I oftentimes get exhausted watching her activity because I'm like, and I'm a bit older than her, so I get it now. It's like, yeah, maybe I was that busy back then. But Janelle Thomas is awesome. She is a person who's so willing to share her wealth of knowledge, her energy, her enthusiasm for just what we do in the world, as well as all her other activities, being an Eastern Star and just her involvement with the different organizations that she's a part of. And she's a leader in each one of those because that's just who she is. Is a leader. And I just think she's phenomenal. I look at her as somebody that when you want something done, when you want some great and fresh ideals, that's the person you can pick the phone up and call. I called her at the last minute to come and be a part of a girls changing the game breakfast. And it wasn't a breakfast, it was a workshop. We were trying to do some speed networking with some girls that participate in Detroit Pals Girls Changing the Game um, program. Last minute, Janelle was there and she stayed for the whole time. She interacted with so many of the girls, and it was just great to see her willing. And she loves reaching back to those young women, helping to try and develop them. So I will give a shout out to Janelle.
Well, I would also second. In fact, we were chatting before we started recording that I sent something to Janelle. I'm always thinking of her in the ways you just mentioned as well. And I don't know if she ever sleeps. Well, maybe she's powered by coffee. But Janelle is always of service in any capacity that she can be of service. And that might be another conversation for one of our convos for connection about her, what led her to her story is really, really interesting as well. So at the end of our conversation, at the end of this conversation, there's going to be a slide for you to how you can connect with both Joyce and Janelle. But Joyce, you know, you're one of my favorite people for being in my accountability circle. Whenever I need a HR phone a friend, you are always there. And you are such a cheerleader and champion of others and an advocate for allowing those that don't have a voice to be amplified. So I want to continue to thank you for all you're doing, not just in our HR community, but the community you serve, in the communities that you serve, and not just one, because like Janelle, you are out there trying to make a difference for the people. And I want to thank you for that. So we look forward to learning more about Joyce and hearing from others in future HRUnite Convos for Connection.
Thank you so much, Tina-Marie. I so appreciate you. You know, I have trouble saying no to you. So, um, anytime you call, I'm there.